Oh, it is a very special night, my friends. And what's a special night without a special introduction?
Hello, and bright suns one and all. Welcome to the 2021 Youteenies. I'm Matt Davenport from the Cantina of Comics, wishing you all bright suns. And we want to congratulate all those who are nominated for the various categories for the 2021 Youteenies.
Thank you, Matt! I'm live here at the 2021 Youtinee Awards, presented by the Living Force, the Youtinee Network podcast. We made it, everyone. It is our second annual Youteenies, celebrating the best Star Wars books and comics that came out this past year. We are here. We are just to the nines. We got a lot of folks in the chat, and I'm one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson. Joining me tonight to celebrate and give out some fantastic awards is the full complement of characters, starting by the inspiration for Scrooge McDuck himself, Dr. Corey Helton!
Hello, and welcome everyone to this prestigious Youtinee event. You know, it's not every day that you get to dress up and pretend like you're wearing pants on the internet, but that is today.
Once a year we'll do it. You're dedicated to that way. I am wearing pants and I regret it. Who's wearing pants? Is it Dr. Charles Hankel?
Hey, yeah, I was wearing scrub pants about, 15 minutes ago. But I was trying to be extra fancy tonight, not just in how I was dressed, but I got a fancy drink tonight, right? I spent all day making spherical ice, and as soon as I poured the liquid in on the ice, it cracked in half. And I'm rolling with it.
It's a true Death Star.
Classic.
Yeah,
Yes.
It just cracked. I love it. Well, the only thing I love more than Charles' spherical glass, love more than Corey not wearing pants, is everything that makes up the man, the myth, the wearing a tie, Wes Jenkins. Welcome to the Youteenies, my friend.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. This is Texas's finest box wine, if anybody was wondering. So it's a celebration, everybody. A very celebration of books from the past year, and my God, there were a lot of them.
There certainly were. We had one of the best years we've ever seen in Star Wars publishing, and tonight we are going to give out the awards voted on by staff, patrons, and community. But before we get into that, guys, let's just do a real quick chat about the year. 2020, for a lot of reasons, sucked, but had good books. 2021 sucked differently, but I think also had some pretty good books. How was Star Wars literature in 2021 on the whole?
Man, we say literally every episode, I feel like, that it is like the best time ever to be a Star Wars fan. And this year certainly did not disappoint. And I cannot believe that we kicked off the High Republic this year. Like, it does not, it feels like it like 5 years ago, like for real. But we got so many books in the High Republic this year. That has been super rad.
It definitely feels longer than a year, right? I mean, it feels like the High Republic came out in the beginning of 2020, and there were, I don't know, 7 or 8 books that had already like hit us, where Charles had to stay up night and day doing all these, doing all of the questions and the plot synopsis. And thank you to everyone for coming and actually enjoying this celebration of sorts.
Yeah, we joke a lot, right? I joke a lot, at least, about the round tables and how hard it is to read all these books. Everyone's talking about supply chains this year, right? And I don't know. I still ended up with like 20 new books on the shelf. So things went okay, I guess.
Absolutely. The amount of Star Wars books and comics, just by volume, we haven't done the math, but may be the most dense year we've had in Star Wars publishing. Because, again, this High Republic was supposed to start in August or September 2020. It got delayed to January, so they fit everything in. And if you want to know just how long this year was, remember that meme with Bernie Sanders on the chair with his arms crossed? That was this year. So it's been a while, my friends. But I'm so excited to hand out the awards for what was best about it. And we want to say thank you to our incredible Youtinee community, because we did, as I said, have a vote of staff, patrons, and community for our winners tonight. And our voting was up by over 200% from last year's Youteenies, which is just incredible. The response was amazing. You all made your voices heard. You said exactly what you wanted, what you loved. I have our 4 best book winners, or nominees rather, next to me here with Light of the Jedi, Rising Storm, Victory's Price, and Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil. But like any good award show, that's going to be our last award of the night, so you got to wait. But I do also have a preview of 2022 on the show. I did get my copy of Fallen Star. That comes out next week because 2022, my friends, is next week. So make sure you're reading that next week. But for right now, before we get into our awards, last thing we want to say is a huge thank you to some very, very special Youtinee crew members, Andrew Bell, Matt Davenport, Jose Jimenez, and Ryan Holland. They couldn't do this without you. From graphics to surveys to videos to artwork, everything you're going to see tonight is the product of our entire team, but especially these 4 people. So, my dudes, thank you so much for your help. And one last plug, I saw it in the chat earlier. If you want to get your hands on that Star Wars sign that's right behind Corey's head tonight on the chat, go to youtinee.gifts, because that's still live, and it is right there, and that's what it looks like. All right, fellas, without any more ado, should we give out some awards?
I think we should.
Let's give away some awards.
All right, here we go. The 2021 Youtinees start now.
Let's begin with the category Best Cover Art, and the nominees are Victory's Price, Star Wars Visions Ronin, Light of the Jedi, and The Rising Storm, the out-of-print variant.
4 beautiful, completely different covers.
I think it's kind of unfair to use the out-of-print variant because my God.
I don't know. I paid for it, Wes, so I think it's totally fair.
I think it's totally fair too. I mean, because we have so many folks in the community now that are collecting these special edition books, and we're getting so many of them. It's kind of crazy. And I don't know, these special covers, they just keep pushing the bar. And I do have to say, it is a little challenging when they do release a special edition cover for Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Oh yeah, I have 5 copies of the same book, and they all have different covers. That is something to behold.
It is, but out of print definitely is up there. Also, in the chat tonight, I think it'll be fun as we announce the nominees. Put your guesses in the chat and see if you're right before we announce the winner. This was especially fun, this category, because we're always told you can't judge a book by its cover. I, however, find that to be incorrect, because all 4 of these books had great covers and got really great reviews by us. We had great roundtables on all 4 of them. You get your more literal covers as far as, Light of the Jedi is just the characters. You got Ronin with the more artistic view of it. Rising Storm out of print is more painted. And then Victory's Price has the kind of geometric thing to kind of round out the trilogy. Fellas, what if we just go through? Do we want to say what we like the best, or do we just want to announce the winner first? What do we feel? I think
we should talk a little about some of the covers that really stood out to us. And, I don't want to play favorites in this Youtinee Awards show.
Voting's over.
I certainly do have my favorite, and I do hope it wins. But, we got to keep the field fair.
We totally do. So I'll say, I think they're all great. Some honorable ones. I think the Light of the Jedi out of print cover was another one of my favorites this year. I thought was great. What are some other ones you guys like that didn't quite make the cut?
I was a big fan of the Rising Storm Target Edition with.
Oh yes, great choice.
I have that one as the top High Republic book in my left quadrant of my bookshelf. So that is yes, definitely one of my favorites.
I think there's something to be said for the simplistic design of the Thrawn trilogy books that we got. I was rearranging some of those on my shelf earlier today, and it's very geometric and simple, and I would have liked to see some of those, I think, in the awards this year, but community beat us out. So
that's the interesting thing too for some of these, because the same goes for the Alphabet Squadron trilogy. When you have a whole trilogy right up on the shelf, and it's got that kind of consistent design through all of them, like that triangle for the Alphabet Squadron with the centralized character, the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, like you're talking about. The High Republic stuff, for what it's worth, even though those out of print covers are sick, they don't necessarily look great next to each other as a set. They look great individually. So it's kind of like, what do you like more?
That's a good point.
Jose is bringing up a good point in the chat too. The Legends special edition covers that we got this year. What are those called?
The Essentials. The Legends Essentials.
Yeah, the Essential Collection, Essential Reading Collection.
The Bane covers are good phenomenal. Now collection, as I call it.
Yes. That's correct.
But those did not make it. These 4 did. Wes, cue it up Who is the best cover art of 2021?
There it is.
The Rising
there
Storm
we go.
out of print. Oh my goodness.
Very good. I feel like this was an obvious choice to me. I think it was this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as they showed it to us, I mean, there are Jedi riding dragons, literal dragons on the cover of this book. It's not fair. It's literally not fair.
Yeah, Lorna D's battle axe going against who is this? Is that Stellan Geos?
Stellan Geos
And
with
he's
two
spinning
lightsabers.
his lightsaber.
Dual-wielding the
Amazing.
lightsabers.
Flanked by lions. Yeah, when this came out, this was my. If you have a double monitor, this is a great wallpaper to
Oh,
stretch
100%.
along them.
Yeah.
But congratulations to the Rising Storm out of print edition for winning Youtinee's official best cover art 2021. We love you, and you're my favorite, so I voted for this. I win.
Yeah. I may have spoiled it right in the very beginning, but that's my MO. So
It's kind of unfair. They don't have to put any words. No words are taking up space.
Nope.
I never
We just
even
got what we
noticed
are.
that. There's no
Nope.
words
Just
on
on
the
the spine.
cover.
That's Wes's favorite kind of book. No words, just pictures.
Well, hey, speaking of pictures, Charles, what is our next category on the outline?
All right, our next category is Comic of the Year.
Now to Comic of the Year, and the nominees are War of the Bounty Hunters, The High Republic, The High Republic Adventures, and Darth Vader.
Ooh, 4 great books.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah.
we're High Republic.
Yeah.
We should clarify too that the Comic of the Year is somewhat of a series award. It's
Yes,
we
not
try not to
individual
look at
issues.
there are so many individual issues it would be very hard to choose. So we did kind of look at things from a series perspective this year, and man, comics knocked it out of the flippin' park this year. Holy smokes!
I've never heard so much chatter about the comics that are coming out and all of the information in these comics that we don't get in books. We definitely don't get them in the movies. So there's those little details that if you wanted to know what happened with the bounty hunters, especially, I mean, you have to pick up that graphic novel or all of those single issues just to find out what's going on.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to our friends at the Cosmic Force who have been covering these all year. I mean, there's a reason we chose 2021 as a company to launch a comic show, because these things were so good. And what I love about this spread of series is that obviously High Republic is our brand new kind of juggernaut that's going through everything. But High Republic Adventures, I think, opened up a lot of people to all ages comics. And now those are going, I believe, from IDW over to Dark Horse. But these are people like myself who haven't read Star Wars Adventures, who really haven't gone to that. But that opened that up. War of the Bounty Hunters was the epic that we needed. And then Darth Vader is bringing back all kinds of different characters from places we never would have thought. So there are 4 completely different comics. And what a year for all of them to be running concurrently.
Yeah, I mean, the Darth Vader comic alone really pushed the boundaries. It's incredible that in 2021, like what is it? What was this year? The 50? It's not the 50th. The 41st? No, it was the 50th this year, right? The celebration was the
Lucasfilm.
50th.
50th
Yes,
of
that's right.
Lucasfilm. Yep.
Darth Vader as a character has been around all these decades, and we're still telling stories about the character, and it's still pushing the limits. It's incredible.
Mhm. Absolutely. And especially for prequel fans, that Darth Vader series was huge. And for those of us that read all these High Republic series, that comics give us a visual language for characters we've never seen on film. So now I know who basically every character in The Rising Storm looks like. I basically, we got to see these just rendered by these incredible artists that, I mean, if the writers are great, but the artists were, I think, really on display this year.
That's an interesting point too, Eric, because we've talked a lot before about how it was so cool to have those basically concept art that they released for like the Alphabet Squadron trilogy, right? Because it was nice you could see exactly what they look like, picture them in your head. If you're reading the comics for something like the High Republic concurrently while reading the novels, it's right there. Like, you don't need concept art. You've got pages and pages of it.
Exactly. And I do believe, other than War of the Bounty Hunters, which was a single event, the rest of these series are continuing into the new year. So let's see who wins, and maybe you'll have to continue that. Wes, what is the best comic of 2021?
Comic of the
All
Year,
right.
High Republic!
By Kevin
Nice.
Scott, Ariane and Dito, and letterers, colorers galore. This is totally biased, the correct choice. I voted for this. This comic was incredible because it carried the momentum between Light of the Jedi and the Rising Storm. Between the waves, you always had comics monthly, and it kept the momentum of the initiative.
That's very true. Very true. Yeah, big fan of this comic. You know, this is really the first comic in a long time that I've followed with every single release, and like, man, it really propels the story forward. Like, you know, the books, there are kind of big gaps in time between the books, and the comics this year really carried the way forward with the timeline. So, you know, I think it's pretty hard to. I think it's going to continue to be pretty hard to pay attention to the High Republic without giving some attention to the comics in some way. Even if you're just watching summaries on YouTube or, you know, reading summaries online, like, I think it's really hard to follow the big picture of the High Republic without the comics.
Yeah. You want to tell me you don't want to know what Orba Lynn looks like? You're lying. Sorry, you're a liar.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Well,
Right.
You know, something else that's cool about this is kind of my view of this. If you're not super into the comics, probably what you saw covered most in this past year was the War of the Bounty Hunters event, because the things that are in that, I'm not gonna say any spoilers, were pretty big news. Like, it was making headlines. But that's what's cool about these awards, right? It's not people that aren't reading these things. Like, those of us that haven't read every single comic that was up for nomination for this year, that's why these things go to the community, right? The people that are just like devouring this content. So I was actually a little bit surprised by this. Again, I haven't read all of these, and it seems like overwhelmingly in the chat, people are voicing support for this. I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. And for the comics, at least, that aren't High Republic adventures, if you want to get caught up, obviously, we'd love you to buy some trades at youtinee.com to look it up and use affiliate links. But you can also get on Marvel Unlimited. And if you want to catch up on all the Star Wars titles, like 3 months, it's all new series up till 3 months ago. Get a Marvel Unlimited trial or a subscription, binge a bunch, and then once it's over, you can keep it going, or you can just pick up on the ones you want. Highly, highly recommend that if you're just getting into the comics like High Republic.
Or you can hit past episodes of The Cosmic Force that's on Youtinee for YouTube/Youtinee.
Binge all of it. You got binge it. Come on, the holidays aren't over yet. You can binge anything you want.
That's how I keep up with them anyways.
I love it. Corey, we've talked about some pretty cool characters. What's our next category for the 2021 Youtinee Awards?
You know, it's funny that you ask about characters, Eric, because the next award that we are giving away is the best character from the Star Wars literature universe. Now, this is a particularly interesting category, and let's roll right into it.
Our next category is Best EU Character, and the nominees are Erica Quell, Stellan Gios, Elzar Mann, and Bel Zettifar.
Everyone's hot. Sorry, that's the thing. Everyone's so hot. Like, my God, everyone's attractive in this category.
Oh, man, this is why the comics are useful. You get to see how hot all the characters are. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, what a stacked category. And, I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but 3 out of 4 High Republic characters, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what a year.
I mean, let's be real. The High Republic is certainly going to dominate this award show, just with nominations and with wins. It's just crazy how much amazing content we got out of the High Republic this year.
Absolutely.
That initiative they put out at the very beginning of the year, they're really coming through if this award show has anything to say about it. So well done by all those authors and those creators out there.
Yeah, I think it speaks towards how well fleshed out all the characters are too in the High Republic. All these characters are right next to each other throughout a story, right? It's not like the main character. It's like a huge cast, and you really grow connected to all of them.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I
And
mean,
then, of
you've seen those
course-
pictures online. You've seen those pictures online with all the characters of the High Republic like next to each other, and it's like, holy smokes, how am I going to tell them apart?
Yeah, so many great ones. And but then, of course, as Blind Fates and Andrew are saying in the chat, we also have Erica here because it is kind of like, I love what you said, Andrew, like a lifetime achievement award for Erica because she finished out a trilogy and really had some incredible moments in Victory's Price. And we got to
as a character.
Yeah. So we do have both ends of the spectrum, a character that kind of finished their journey versus 3 characters that are kind of starting theirs. And obviously this year we could have had 18,000 other nominated characters. I mean, what a wealth of stories and development we got as Star Wars continues to be more character-centric. And again, we thank the cover artists and comic book artists, as we're going on the screen here between the nominees, for these astonishing artistic renderings, from the smolder of Bel Zettifar to the regalness of Stellan Gios to, like, just these portraits are gorgeous. I hope we get them for every single character for every year going forward.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point too, Eric, with Erica Quell ending her journey, the rest beginning them. It'll be cool to look back once we're through like the High Republic or even a good portion of it. Look back at this and see if some of these people are still fan favorites.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
alive, Charles.
Or are they even
or alive? I mean, who knows? In a couple of years, are we gonna be looking at a Dark Lord Trennis? Like, I don't know. Could be fun, but this year we're not. We have our 4. Who's our winner?
Bel
Zettifar!
Bel Zettifar.
Oh my God!
Man,
Are we surprised?
Not really.
I'm personally not.
Winner of the Youtinee Discord High Republic bracket. So
That's a good point.
I mean,
That's a good
y'all,
point.
all you Bell stands, the Zeta fans, as I'm now calling you, the Zeta stands, Zeta fans. I like Zeta fans. Y'all came through. Y'all came through and voted for your boy.
For sure.
I love Bell. Oh my God.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he's going to be like one of the main characters going forward, and especially in the Fallen Star. Looking back on the Rising Storm, almost forgot. Looking back on that whole arc that he's had, starting from young Padawan, growing up, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but he is quite the character at the end
He
of
has
the
some
Rising
traumatic
Storm.
experiences.
I mean,
we
I'm
can
not
say
gonna.
that.
I mean, he's been through
He's been through. He needs some
thing or two.
therapy. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
But he doesn't, you know what? He doesn't have therapy yet, but he does have a dog. And we all know that helps a lot.
That is correct. That is correct. A real dog, not an R2D2 dog. A real dog.
Yeah.
You know, so there's something else that really stood out to me about Bel Zettifar as a character is when the trailer for that game, the new game that they're making, that they've decided is set in the High Republic. There's a couple scenes in that trailer where the people were like, "Is that Bel Zettifar? Is that Bel Zettifar?" I'm like, wow, people are actually looking for the character in other Star Wars media. I think that's a good
Already,
sign.
yeah. Yeah, I will lose my mind wherever he shows up. I love him. Again, I have not read The Fallen Star yet, so we'll see what happens to Bell in there. But also, I think
Is he safe? Is he all right?
Oh, no one's safe. No one is safe.
Eric, you're the one currently reading Fallen Star right now. Is he safe? Is he all right?
Embargo's on January 3rd. I will say another thing. I think it definitely goes to say how incredible it is that the winner of this award and kind of the face of the High Republic is a strong young black man as well in leading the Jedi. It's awesome going from having like Mace Windu and everyone else to now Bel Zettifar leading the charge. Just, you love to see it. Can't wait to see Bell in every medium possible. I hope we get old Grandmaster Bell someday. But if nothing else, I hope that he survives next week. Wes, what is our next category? That was one of our most popular last year.
The next category is the creators who are the most socially interactive with the community. So, further ado, here we go.
Our next category is the social butterfly, and the nominees are Daniel Jose Older, Emma Miko Candon, Charles Soule, and Ario Anandito.
A wonderful grouping. Do you want to say Kevin Scott, last year's winner, not eligible for this award this year? He is still very active with the community, but You win once, that's all you get. We love you, Kevin. You're incredible.
This is always a really tough decision to make, and interestingly enough, looking at the data, this is one of the awards that had a great variation amongst the community, our Patreon and staff. Like, it's really cool to see that there are just so many. This category had a ton of nominations too. So we love seeing how active everybody is on Twitter and on social media. That's always really, really encouraging.
Yeah. And it's so cool because all these people clearly feel safe and comfortable being able to talk to the community. And I think that's something very special with Star Wars books, because a lot of Star Wars places, as we've said since the dawn of Youtini, aren't the most welcoming places in the world. But we have writers and artists that feel safe and happy to talk to fans and respond and joke around in a digital space. And I think that is so awesome that Star Wars literature and comics are able to give that to these people, so they'll come back, and really we just want them to make more Star Wars stuff. So this is all in service to the product. So well done, everyone. Keep being nice.
Yeah, it does kind of feel in some ways it's like, who's the nicest? Is that what this award is? But it's good that it's a hard decision, because that means they're choosing the right kind of people to be working in this franchise.
Yeah.
100%.
They're nice, they're intelligent, and also in Daniel Jose Older's case, they'll cut you if they need to. Because dude is awesome. Dude is a sniper on Twitter. I absolutely love it.
I love it. No holds bar for sure.
All right. Who is this year's social butterfly for the Youtinees? It is Daniel Jose Older.
Yeah, there you go.
All
Nice.
Oh,
Very good. I do have to
choice.
say, we did have the opportunity to interview our friend DJO this year, and man, what a delight to have on the show, both before, during, and after, for sure. That was one of the most fun interviews I think we've ever done.
That's when he first dropped the Buckets of Blood character. I didn't first drop it, but he gave us a good rundown of that character and its beginnings. So that was really cool to hear, especially from him giving it straight to us.
One of the best times. And if you are excited for Midnight Horizon, his upcoming young adult High Republic novel, this past couple weeks on Twitter, he has been going off on how he feels about it. And he's clearly so excited about his own work and upcoming characters. And it's so fun to read. And he became a dad this year. So somehow, in the midst of new fatherhood and writing everything, still has time to interact in the most meaningful way with fans. So DJO, we love you, man. Community obviously does too. Congratulations on being this year's social butterfly.
I would like to see the baby.
You clipped that, right? I think it's not getting better than that. All right. You know what? I feel I am next in the order, but Charles, I feel like you need to tee at this next category.
Yeah, it's interesting that you would choose me. It's almost as if I spend hours every I don't know, it feels like every month poring over some of these and picking some of them out to be voted on by the community. It is the 2021 Best Easter Egg.
Our next category is Best Easter Egg, and the nominees are Victory's Price. On page 382 of Victory's Price, Soren Kaisi says, "Artfully done," which is a callback to one of Legend's most famous moments when Grand Admiral Thrawn states it was so artistically done just prior to his death at the end of The Last Command by Timothy Zahn. A Test of Courage, page 7, prologue. This story was released before the Rising Storm. The last thing we want is survivors. This should be a disaster that will make Legacy Run look like a day at the fair. Light of the Jedi, Mananarii Mountains on Coruscant, originated in Heir to the Empire. And Light of the Jedi, page 143. Lorna D., the Twi'lek Nihil Tempest Runner, wears armored leather made from the hide of a Kel dragon. Kel dragons were originally created for the 1995 video game Star Wars Dark Forces.
Oh,
Wow. I love Easter eggs so much,
Yeah.
guys.
they're so great.
I don't know that any other franchise has this level of depth. Like, it's just insane that we can have small, subtle references to a video game made in 1995. It's insane.
It's almost as insane as Timothy Adams' the Dallas Cowboys scoring 56 points yesterday. I had to throw that out in the chat. Anyway, how about them Cowboys? Yeah, I am amazed, Charles, as you teed it up. I'm amazed at what comes out of every book. You must have listed, I can't make this a wee thing. You do this. Like hundreds of Easter eggs this year. And there are so many that these authors just painstakingly put in. And as we talked with Tom on the Ronin Roundtable, sometimes they are unintentional, which is also super fun because the universe is just so vast.
Yeah, we look for those little details and try to find the exact ones. Like, oh, that part happened in the very beginning of A New Hope, and like, no, it actually didn't. You just think it did. But but they even put them in the movies. So like in The Rise of Skywalker, when they said that the festival happens every 42 years, that is 42 years is the last time they had. What was that? The beginning of A New Hope when they first.
Yep.
The first movie. So they even stick those in movies too, not just in books. So the Easter egg finds are incredible and definitely one of my most favorite things that we do on the round table. So Charles, you have to keep doing it. I'm not doing that.
Sorry, mate.
I'll try. It's funny too though, because as much time as I spend doing that and as excited as I get to catch some of the ones that are maybe a little bit more discreet, I miss a ton. I guarantee you I miss a ton. So like there's a lot of reread value to a lot of this material. Like there's a lot of things that as you gain more knowledge about the Star Wars universe in general, you can go back and kind of re-experience some of these stories in a new way.
Yeah, and especially with the High Republic, like we had the Day in the Fair Easter egg is so funny because we didn't know it was a thing until later in the year, but as Justina Ireland was writing it, she already knew the Rising Storm was the next thing and the next wave, so they're able to retroactively Easter egg themselves, which is such a fun thing we're going to be able to witness for the next few years as that initiative goes on. And we'll notice that authors, because now they're guaranteed contracts, will start to reference themselves as they go on, which just has to be the most fun experience as a writer, to just kind of seed things in for your future self. It's like Tenet in that way. If you haven't seen Tenet, it's insane. This, however, is not about Tenet. It's about Star Wars. Who was our winner for the 2021 Best Easter Egg? Bada bing.
There it is.
Wow.
The High Republic Test of Courage.
This should be a disaster that will make the Legacy run look like a day at the fair. And Justina laughed and laughed because we had no idea.
I mean that particular Easter egg. It should have been nominee or runner up for like quote of the year. To be honest, that was a damn good quote to put in the book. I mean, it's very. Yeah. It's very flip-floppy in a way because the way you say it's a day at the fair. I mean, obviously you think it's fun, but we didn't read The Rising Storm as of yet.
Yeah, just so good. And also, again, reinforces that if you have been hesitant and you have the time, money, and ability to do so, go back and read these middle grades because they're full of stuff like this. They're full of these character moments. They're full of these little nods and things like that. And that's not stopping anytime soon coming up this next year. And I never read middle grade since middle grade in real life. And this kind of stuff has gotten me back into that. And that's why I got to meet Vernestra Rowe for the first time. That's when I got to see these things for the first time. And how fun that 2021, Karina, between that and the High Republic Adventures kind of reinvigorated youthful novels and comics for an older audience.
Yeah, it really, and just expanded universe definitely expands on those smaller characters that show up in the novels that you may think are side characters, but a lot like what Star Wars publishing does is that it just has a book and a story and a novel for everything. And no matter what character is in there is a book or there is a paragraph, there is a chapter about one of those characters that you maybe can come to know and love.
100%. But of course, oh, nope, messed it up. That was going to be great, guys. Of course, this Easter egg was a quote. So, Corey, how does that work into our next category for the Youtinees?
Well, it works into the next category because it is the next category, quote of the year.
And now we move to Quote of the Year. And the nominees are Only Rebellions Are Built on Hope. Republics Need Sturdier Foundations. Hera Syndulla, Victory's Price. Across the atrium, against the stars, lightsabers ignited, hundreds, in all the colors of the Jedi Order. A salute held high. In the space outside the station, anyone who looked would see a surging glow rush out from the beautiful open space at its heart, pushing back the darkness. The light of the Jedi, light of the Jedi. Elzar Mann was riding a dragon into the middle of a dogfight because who else would it be? The rising storm. The odds are never impossible, Thrawn said calmly, merely unfavorable. Thrawn ascendancy, greater good.
The quote of the year is just Matt saying every quote.
Right?
Yes.
Let's just
That
get him
was
to start
marvelous.
narrating all the Star Wars books. Yeah, so good. So
Matt
good.
has
my
great
gosh.
audio quality. Good for him.
All right, next year we're going to double the amount of nominees, so Matt just has to read a bunch more quotes because I got chills just listening to every single one of those.
Yeah.
My goodness, man.
We certainly had some really big quotes this year. This is always a fun category because as the team is reading the books, we try to jot down these really good stuff and throw it into like something that we can save for when the end of the year rolls around. And we had a ton of options this year. I mean, like we just had so much good stuff from Light of the Jedi and from High Republic books and beyond. It was just an incredible year.
Yeah, and also we have the ridiculous to the sublime in here, right? We have the Hera, only republics are built on hope things, like, thinking about Rogue One. We have Thrawn doing a nod to Never Tell Me the Odds. And then we have the Light of the Jedi with basically what is emblematic about the High Republic as a whole. And then we have, and also dragons! Like, this is 2021 in a basket, I think, this category almost more than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, and like Corey said, so as we're reading these books throughout the year, we have to try to take the time to like break away from the story and be like, you know what? That's a really good quote. And a lot of good quotes were not picked. I mean, I don't know how they narrowed these down because that's amazingly how many people could pick a certain quote and it means something to them and not really mean something to somebody else. But as long as it all comes together and everybody picks on that same one, then there you go. That's how we get our next winner.
That is also interesting because a lot of times as people are going through these books, even in just our staff conversations about this, people seem to clue in on some of the same quotes. Like there really is something about some of these moments that are so striking. Like you will actually pause when you're reading it, not just to write it down, but because it was that impactful. And really all of these, I feel like I remember what it was like reading these quotes for the first time and they all jumped out.
And especially, I gotta give an honorable mention to Kosov, don't forget your hand. But like,
Eric coming through with that impression once again.
Once more for the year. I did want to ask you guys, on that note, what is it about these quotes, these specifically, but also any quote as you're reading or listening? Because I know, like, Wes, I feel like Wes and Corey, you guys now more so listen to the books, and Charles and I more so read them. What is it about a quote in a Star Wars book that makes you write it down? Like, what is that special ingredient that makes you either pause or literally put the cover down and be like, you know what? No, I need to write this down because it's that good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have an immediate answer to this. I call it the grunt test. If I'm reading or I'm listening, I'm just like, If I grunt to myself, it means, oh, yeah, it's a good quote. It's a good quote.
Oh, my God. That's perfect.
The last ones that I had did, I would read in bed and I take a snapshot of the page and then I cut the paragraph down in the crop on my phone and I leave it in the notes section. I come back and look at it later. I'm like, yeah, that's something I needed to keep around. And so I put those in quotes, and then that's when I added them to the list, or I put them in the round table as prompts to talk about.
Great point. Yeah, I have a similar test to Corey from the grunt test. Mine's the whoo test, is where I read it and I go, whew, man, like, and that can be like, that was epic, or ooh, that hit me, or oh, Star Wars is greater. That's ridiculous. Like,
for you Gen Zers out there, we call that the sheesh test.
Oh, yeah.
Will.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm like, oh man, riding a dragon? Did it.
Oh my God.
I'm on TikTok. I get it.
Again. Never do that again.
If we hit our next Patreon goal, I'll never do that again. All right. But with all that buildup, Wes, what is the quote that made the most impact on the Youtinee community in 2021?
Light of the Jedi.
across
You
the
read it, Wes?
atrium. Yo, yeah. You want to do it, Wes?
Across the
Do it.
atrium, against the stars, lightsabers ignited, hundreds in all the colors of the Jedi Order, a salute held high. In the space outside the station, anyone who looked would see a surging glow rush out from the beautiful, open space at its heart, pushing back the darkness, the light of the Jedi. I mean,
The music
See, there it
fits.
is. There's
the
the
music
grunt.
fits.
There's the grunt test right there.
Yeah, that hits. Like,
Oh, man.
my gosh. And that started our year. That was the first book of the year. It's one of the last quotes from one of the first books, and that made the year.
Very good.
Also,
Very
Wes,
good.
great performance. Oh, everyone's saying in the chat, that was a beautiful reading.
oh, thanks.
Well done.
Yeah, they really had to knock
God.
this one out of the park. I mean, being the first book in this whole brand new initiative, it had to be good, right? It had to be
Yeah.
this type of writing. So,
Had to hit you.
Spoiler
Yeah.
alert, it was.
Good.
Oh, man.
It's always interesting too to get to the quotes where they say like the title of the book, and then everyone becomes that Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like pointing at the TV.
Oh, he said it.
Or whatever it is. Like, but this one really, they outdid themselves. Like sometimes it seems cheesy or it seems forced, but like this whole section is just the perfect representation of the point of the High Republic.
Yeah, Charles Soule absolutely wrote that to perfection. Another Charles Soule quote that we're seeing in the chat right now that I'm going to put an honorable mention on is, quote, beat his ass, Chewbacca. Which is from the War of the Bounty Hunters.
oh my God.
So, honorable mention.
Oh, my God.
Oh, so that was great. Wes, a lot of the quotes bring us back to certain moments in books, but we have another category for things that may not just be quotes, but are emblematic of the stories themselves. What's our next category?
Yes, the next category is not just a saying, but it could be an action. So it is 2021's Moment of the Year.
Our next category is Moment of the Year, and the nominees are Victory's Price, Erica Quell having a breakthrough with an imagined version of ITO. Light of the Jedi, Avar Kriss announcing the Jedi arrival at Hetzel Prime. And The Rising Storm, Elzar Mann throwing a lightsaber from the back of a dragon.
Oh,
Matt said that with a straight face.
Yes.
I'm gonna just
It's so telling though that as he got to each one, because I kind of like low-key forgot which one I voted for and like what all the options were. As he said each one, I was just like, oh, that's the one. And then the next, oh no, that's got to be the one. Like they're so
man.
good.
And it's funny because I think we talked about this in the nomination show. With the Youtinees, we expect that a lot of you folks have read most of these, but maybe not all of them. So there are some moments this year that were pretty spoiler heavy that we did not put in these categories. Just because, again,
That's a
our
good
mission
point.
at Youtini is for the most enjoyment possible. But these three were truly, truly phenomenal. And they're all on different scales, right? I mean, Erica is the personal breakthrough that kind of helped a lot of us in 2021. For a lot of us, they need our own things. Avar Kriss announcing the Jedi are here. She literally announced the arrival of the High Republic Initiative. That's what that was. That was like, hey,
Yeah, for sure.
we're the Jedi. We are hope. Buckle in. This is the next 3 years of Star Wars. And then Elzar Mann throwing a lightsaber out the back of the dragon is when I ascended out of my body in my own apartment. And I was like, we're allowed to do this? Like, that was they fly now? Like, they throw lightsabers now? They throw
Avar
lightsabers
Kriss was
now?
basically Doctor Strange doing that thing where he pushes you out of your body and you're just like floating above it for a minute. You're just like,
I'm like,
whoa.
whoa.
Yeah,
That's when
exactly,
I'm like, Elzar
yeah.
Mann's a cool character to like, I might die for Elzar Mann. Oh my God. Like,
You just reading the part where Avar Kriss announces the Jedi arrival like gave me goosebumps. And then when Elzar Mann throws the lightsaber off the back of the dragon, I put the book down and lost the page I was on. I was like, oh damn it. And then I had to go back and find it, but I was like, that can't be right, can it?
it's just incredible because it's these moments when we realize what books are allowed to do is a weird phrase, but I think that's it. That they're allowed to do anything because there is no budget, there's no skill. You can't go on too big or too small. Whatever the author can imagine and write convincingly, they can do. And I think these three moments really bring together the depth of what's possible. You know?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely adore it. But there can only be one winner and two losers. Wes, what is the best moment of 2021? Yes! Let's go!
That's it.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Elzar Man throwing a lightsaber from the back of a dragon because
Right.
who else would it be?
I knew it was the winner as soon as I read it for the first time.
Oh.
This is gonna be it. This is the moment right here.
Yeah,
It's a,
like, we
it's a
can
good sign when it's a quote of the year nominee and a moment of the year nominee.
Yeah, exactly.
like for a character that didn't really feature much in the first wave, you know, he came in and we're like, okay, he's kind of cool. Also on the audiobook, if you haven't listened to the audiobook, Mark Thompson literally gives Elzar Man the coolest voice. It's like the Brad Pitt of the High Republic. He just comes in and he's just like, oh yeah, I get why Avar might have had a crush on him at one point.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But it's a great moment, and it's a terrifying moment because obviously there's a Nihil attack, but it is the coolest, just most fun thing that you want to do in a video game, right? Aren't you mad that wasn't in Battlefront now? The dragon mount with the lightsaber throwing?
Yeah, it's like, what else? I mean, what kind of crazy stuff can you put in there if there's space wizards with lightning swords? I mean, they can get on the back of a dragon as well? Why not? Oh, they can throw them too.
Yeah. So in 2022, as we have the end of Phase 1, the beginning of Phase 2, and of course the end of the Padme trilogy, we got an Anakin Obi-Wan book, and we got a Luke Skywalker post Return of the Jedi novel for the first time. Like, I cannot fathom what kind of moments we're gonna get coming up. Like the docket is so, and that's not even counting the comics. Like the docket is so rich for these types of moments, and the bar has been set at epic speeches to welcome Jedi, personal revelations in caves with droids, and lightsaber throws on top of dragons. So we got to go higher?
There's a bar that high?
2022?
Yeah, for real.
We got to push it, man. But of course, the category next. It's a big one. So I'm going to intro it a bit before we get to the nominations. It's Book of the Year. And this category is kind of, obviously it's like our best picture award nomination, but it is a little bit of what Youtinee is all about when it comes down to it. We started this because we loved reading Star Wars books, and it was that simple. We didn't know that we loved talking about characters. We didn't know we loved covers. We didn't know we loved Easter eggs. We didn't know we loved all this stuff, but we knew we loved Star Wars books. And when you read a Star Wars book that just hits you, it passes Corey's grunt test, it gives you all those feelings that you need, and there's a reason that you want to come on the round table and say, perfect 10, 9.7. Like, there's a reason those are special. And like we said at the top of the show, we got the most books we have seen, I think, in any year in Star Wars publishing, at least in recent history. And we've somehow narrowed it down to these 4 books next to me. But I cannot talk about them as beautifully as Matt Davenport can. So, Wes, please let Matt tell us the finalists for Youtinee's 2021 Book of the Year.
And now our final category, the Book of the Year. And the nominees are Victory's Price by Alexander Freed, Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott, and Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil by Timothy Zahn.
Now, throwing in the Thrawn Ascendancy, Lesser Evil was tricky because that was our last book we read at the round table. It's very fresh in our minds. And it was, like we've said before, whenever you put the end of a trilogy book into a voting scheme, you're really voting for the entire trilogy itself, not just the last book. So that might throw people for a loop.
It's interesting too, including books from the same series, right? Like the fact that you have Light of the Jedi and The Rising Storm. It's like The Rising Storm was obviously its own unique story, but it's also on the shoulders and the foundation of what was done in Light of the Jedi. So you kind of have to factor that in too, and it makes it really difficult.
Right. And I will say, for what it's worth, once April comes around, Victory's Price will be the only one of these that I own one copy of. I own 4 copies of The Rising Storm and 3 copies of Light of the Jedi, which is fine, and I don't regret in the slightest. But I will just say that I think, like you said earlier, Corey, in our first category, Best Cover Art, we're realizing that these really good books, they seem to know when they got a gem on their hands. Because they pump out about 8 versions of it because they know people are going to want it.
Yeah, that's very good. I think all of these books certainly deserve to be in this competition. And I will say that from the data, this was one of the tightest races, and it always is. It was last year as well. Book of the year. People are really opinionated about what they think is the best. And, it's very complex how we run the numbers, and maybe one day we will publish that kind of thing. But, this year we try to give folks equal weight in different things with the numbers. And, it was very interesting to see what happened among the staff, among Patreon, and among the community in this category, because I think different parts of these stories hit differently with different people.
Yeah, and it's all about what you need too. And Star Wars really meets you where you are in your life. I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Writers write for the times in which they are living, and the end of Victory's Price is the end of a trilogy of all brand new characters minus Hera. It was a huge risk. And it really is a psychological thing about trauma and forgiveness, and or something to that. And the Light of the Jedi is all about hope and all about the beginning of something new. Rising Storm is about the eternal darkness, but coming out of something and really trying to stick together with people you love and meeting new friends. And Throne Ascendancy, Lesser Evil is possibly Timothy Zahn's final Star Wars book. It's the end of a legacy of a character that has been redefined some after 20 years. The weight in each of these titles is just so brilliant. And depending on how your 2021 was, and depending on your history with Star Wars books, each of these hit you in a different way, which is so cool and so great. And I mean, I'm blown away that all these came out in a single year. It feels like they all could have had their own book of the year any other year, but that's what we want.
These
right?
were in all different years. They would be year winners. Easy.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are such good books. And not just because I finished all 4. It's because...
That's how you know.
Because I so artfully ruined the first Star Wars Victory's Price in the second roundtable. But I apologize. Don't go back and watch that one unless you finish the book. But The Rising Storm, like you said, Charles, that is interesting to see that we have 2 ends of a trilogy, and then the beginning of a trilogy, or beginning of the initiative, and then a middle book. So, usually, I mean, is Rising Storm from what we've read, is it like the second in the movie trilogy, in the original trilogy?
Yeah.
Is it
like
is it Empire? I mean,
well, it sure ends
in a
pretty
lot of
down.
ways.
and nobody really liked Empire when they first saw it, but then they started building on everybody, and then I don't know.
For what it's worth, I voted for Rising Storm initially. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Let's do this.
Right?
Okay.
I remember this because I could not put that book down. And there were a lot of factors that we talked about, a lot of them in the roundtable, but that's kind of how I went with this. Yes, I could try to dissect all of this, go back and listen to what my scores were in the roundtable, et cetera. But when I looked at this list, it was just gut punch. Which one of these do I still feel like impacted me the most? And it was The Rising Storm for me.
I was on the same wavelength.
Wes, what'd you vote for?
I was on the
Rising
same.
Storm?
So I chose The Rising Storm as my book of the year, mainly because everything seemed to start coming apart, if you will.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. But
wow, if you've read that book, that's a great joke. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to pick any 4 of them. We can give an award to all 4 and just give it a quad and split it up, right? But you can't do that. Somebody has to be the bad guy.
We pretty much started with every single book that was released this year on this list. I mean, you have to with book of the year. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Corey, what'd you vote for?
I am a sucker for origin stories, guys. I always have been. Something just speaks to me about episode 4, episode 1. Episode 7, all the origin story, Rogue One. So, I like Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
guys.
you like origins, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, I love Light of the Jedi. I mean, I gave that book a perfect 10 this year when we did the roundtable discussion. I'm like, it's like you say, Charles, like when sometimes you have to go off your gut, I guess you could call it, like just that sort of that reaction, the emotional reaction that you have about the book when you read it. Like it's different than trying to be objective and talk about plot and characters. And it's hard. It's hard to do. It's really hard to choose a winner in these categories.
Yeah. I'll round us out by saying I think I went back and forth between all of them, honestly, and ended up with Light of the Jedi. Because for some reason, I think it was the first book I read in the year, like all of us probably did. And for some reason, I think I just needed a beginning at that point. And I met Loden Greatstorm. I met Bel Zettifar. I met Avar Kriss. Like, the introductions to all these characters became some of my absolute favorites. And I just am blown away by the fact that they still impact me this much a year later, even though some of them I've only read in that book. So without further ado, though, it wasn't up to the four of us. I mean, we voted, but it was up to everyone. Wes, our Youtinee 2021 Book of the Year is...
Light of the
Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. Book
Hard
of
decision.
the Year. My God.
Worthy. Charles Soule's first little soiree into the Star Wars, novel publishing world. And
Coming from the comics and his own books.
He absolutely killed it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, Charles Soule definitely, he just surged to the top of our what's the next book list, I think the second that we finished it. And I mean, this book, there's a reason the characters were in best character of the year. It had the best Easter eggs, quotes, moments, like cover art, even the regular cover art. I mean,
this book has so many nominations.
It dominated.
Crazy.
And it came out the first week of the year. It defined 2021.
And they gave everybody the first 8 chapters for free before the book came out.
What a
they
flex.
They
the
were
biggest flex I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Also,
They were convinced it
arguably
was
the
gonna be
best
great.
book excerpt that's ever been released ever. Like, oh my God.
Yes.
Like, I was so jacked to read that book when that excerpt came out.
Yeah.
And I want to jump on something Caroline just said in the chat. It says, Light of the Jedi is literally why and how I read Star Wars books now. And the amount of people I have seen on Twitter, in Discord, that say, I read Light of the Jedi, and now I love Star Wars books, or it got me back. Like, there's cosplayers, there's people are getting High Republic tattoos. I'm getting one at some point. I'm going to do it. I'm saying it on the record now. It's going to happen. Like, the amount of people that read this book and just decided, I will now give 3 years of my life to this initiative and these creators. And, like, it was on New York Times bestseller list. It was on best of lists everywhere. But most importantly, it is now on the Youtinees list as the Book of the Year 2021. I mean, the High Republic works because of this book. If it sucked, it wouldn't have worked.
Is this one of the reasons why next year we have to revisit the Foundational 5?
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
This could be one of the best books
Corey?
to start anyone with.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge philosophical discussion. We're about to sit down and really do a lot of planning for the year with Youtinee. I think that's got to be on the list of things we address.
I think it absolutely does.
But it's interesting because it was risky to start a whole new era, right?
Yes.
And there are plenty of people out there, like we were all quite excited about this. There are plenty of people out there that are long-term Star Wars fans who were like moaning and groaning about, oh, it's a whole new era. Like, we don't know anything about these people. Like, they're not going to mean anything to us. And look at us here now, Book of the Year. Like, it's that good. A lot of the same people that were making those comments beforehand now are buying every single sequel to this book.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a huge endorsement.
Without question. So I do want to say, though, we try not to lie to you all, but we did lie to you just now. We said Book of the Year is our final award. Wes has never lied to you. He has told you maybe too many truths. We do have one more award.
Very good.
That we gave out as a team. And this is an award that we didn't do last year. But this year, we decided that we celebrate the creators so much on this show that we wanted to give an award for the creator that wrote the stories that just kind of touched us the most this year, that just they're emblematic of what Star Wars publishing should be. in our opinion, and it's the author of the year. And before we tell you who it is, this is a little experiment I'm going to go to. Guys, we all know who won on this team. So I want to go around. What did this author mean to you personally this year that made us vote for them for this award? Charles, I'm going to go to you first.
Oh man, I don't want to give this away until we actually make the
It's the
announcement.
tough one.
So I'm going to try to be a little bit abstract about this. Took something that was a terrific first step and just furthered it. I mean, like if you stumble out of the gate, it's one thing, right? But like the actual the passing of the baton, what kind of metaphor am I going here? I don't know.
You're nailing it.
You know, after those first few steps, like it's not just about having a strong start to things, right? It's about having consistency and doing something perfect over and over and over again. And that's something that I think this author helped to accomplish. And I think we'll probably talk about this maybe a little bit, even sometimes to the detriment of yourself. Creating something that means so much to other people, so many other people out there is just, it's incredible.
Absolutely. Corey?
Like you say, Eric, I think that the author of the year, it can't just be they wrote good books, comics, whatever. They can't just like produce good content, right? They have to be representative of the community and the way they interact with the community, the way that they professionally carry themselves, their professional accolades, and I think we've gotten a lot of new authors since Disney purchased Star Wars, and there are a few authors that have just utterly stood out from the crowd, and I think this is absolutely one of them.
Love that. Wes?
This particular author, I'll be a little bit more concrete, wrote the story that floored me the most. As well as the social interaction that they have, whether it be on Twitter or with the Star Wars community. The outreach has been amazing and help get more people into Star Wars is basically that person that we want to highlight. Yeah.
Everything you guys have said, absolutely true. I think this writer not only writes stories that hit us, but is really a role model. Straight up, I think they're a role model for a good person, to be a good person, to be a good talent, to be candid about certain things, and to prioritize correctly, and to just really be, when you think I want Star Wars to be this, I think this author really represents that. And I'm so glad that they're making content. I'm so glad that their stories they seem to love in Star Wars and outside of Star Wars. They seem to really love what they do. And we love reading it. We love taking it in. So without further ado, let's show off Youtinee's 2021 Author of the Year. Kevin
There
Scott.
it is. Kevin Scott.
Author of... yeah.
Standing ovation.
Of course it is. Of course it is. I mean, not only did Kevin jumpstart the comic of the High Republic and write the Rising Storm, like you said, but when you think of Star Wars, you think of Kevin.
Yeah. It's no surprise too that we try not to like pick favorites, but just time and time again when we've had him on the show, he's been incredibly gracious with his time. I mean, he's had fantastic anecdotes about what he's written, what it's meant to him. You can really feel his passion for Star Wars, not just as a creator but as a fan.
Yeah, he's very personable. And like I was trying to highlight, I mean, he really wants to get people reading Star Wars, whether it be jumping back and forth between comics and novels. He's trying to touch as many people as he possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, this is the man who brought back Jackson from his childhood. Yeah. This is the man who then created characters that people read in their childhood that will pass on for generations to come. I mean, he's fun. He's cagey. Kevin knows what he did, that whole thing. But he's also very open about, when he went through a period of burnout this year, he was very open on Twitter about the fact that he needed to take some time back and recalibrate. And for especially, I think, readers like ourselves and our generation and younger that have been taught to just work, how amazing to see someone who writes these amazing stories that we respect so deeply to say, you know what? It's all right to step back and take care of yourself. And that is, you can see it in his characters, you can see it in his life. And I think that's a great way just to lead the community. And what a joy that we're guaranteed to get at least 2 more years of High Republic, Kevin, if nothing else.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah. We love you, man. And Wes, we did have something special for this award. Do you want to tell people a little bit about something extra we did for the Author of the Year, and maybe some trials that did or did not happen involving it?
So yes, the Youtinees is an award show of sorts where we give Youtinee awards to everybody, but we didn't have an actual award. We provide them in theory. You get a Youtinee for the category that you win, but we wanted to create the Youtinee, the actual Youtinee that's tangible, that can be held. So for Author of the Year, we decided that Kevin Scott should get his very own Youtinee award. So this here is it's the Youtinee evaporator.
Solid 14 karat
Solid gold.
plastic.
Is it filled with chocolate? The world may never know.
But this is a prototype. We have one on its way to Kevin
The
Scott
dang
at the
Royal
moment.
Mail, man. They have messed it up. Let us tell you.
It's currently being verified right now to enter the
Whatever that
country.
means.
So we're working on it. But hopefully it gets to him, and that he gets to enjoy his 2021 Author of the Year award.
Very good. Very good. Some poor man is at the border and is opening this box like, what the hell is this? I don't know if I should let this in this country or not.
Yeah, he's calling his supervisor.
But
right
I will say though, I think we can say this pretty decently. We will try, if nothing else, if it gets obliterated by customs and doesn't make it into the country, we will try to get the prototype to you, Cav, at Celebration. So if nothing else, we hope you enjoy the first ever physical Youtinee. This is a one of a kind, well, two of a kind,
First one ever.
but of the first of its kind, and we hope to make more of these. And obviously, we had to figure this out a little early to get it all ordered and stuff, but that's it. That's the 2021 Youtinee Awards, guys. Obviously, we assumed dominated by the High Republic. I don't think we understood quite the extent that it would be dominated by. I mean, cover art, comic, EU character, Social Butterfly was definitely a High Republic author. Easter egg, quote of the year, moment. What was moment of the year? Yeah, moment of the year. Book it. Yeah, every single award was the High Republic. Never mind.
Holy
Straight
smokes.
sweep.
Elzar Man throws
I didn't even
Incredible.
realize.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that either.
A full sweep. So we like the High Republic is what we're saying. Which actually, as I want to have a little postmortem here, but before we do, if you pause at this point in podcast, a heads up. Next week, The Fallen Star, the last adult novel in phase 1, because the young adult and middle grade have been delayed a month or two respectively, does come out next week. There will not be a Living Force show next week live. We have the Youtinee Annual Summit we'll be doing, and of course we'll all be reading The Fallen Star. So just a quick heads up on that. We want to get that out of the way before we end the show. But guys, now that we know the winners, we've seen the nominations, we have the hundreds of votes come in, and I'm sure more to come next year. So our community, everyone, already start thinking about next year's Youtinees, what you want to nominate as you read. What do you think this year? High Republic sweep, some great wins, any big surprises, or what do we think now about the past year as we look forward to 2022?
I cannot believe how many books we read this year. I can't believe how many books I read this year. I mean, there were so many. One thing I wanted to point out, one of my favorite character reveals or new character additions was Soren Keys. I really enjoyed Soren Keys from Alphabet Squadron. Kind of like his introduction into that trilogy. So I can kind of see now how some of the things that I chose were not picked because of spoiler alert things. So I get why some of the moments of the year or quotes of the year weren't added, but I think that's warranted. I think that's okay. The book is damn good. The whole trilogy is great. So
Absolutely. Also, a quick thank you to Andrew. I forgot to say thank you for the super chat. To celebrate Kevin Scott, quote, straight money with a dollar sign so you know it's real.
Very good. Very good.
What else we
Yeah.
got, guys? What do you think? Charles, what do you got?
The High Republic sweep, I am both surprised and not surprised by. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense, but then when I also look at the other things that came out this year, I mean, I still have Throne Ascendancy, Lesser Evil here sitting right next to me. It's like there's some good stuff that didn't get awards because the High Republic got awards,
Yeah.
and it hurts a little bit. And maybe you're out there and you're like, man, I really think this thing should have won or this thing. Make sure you vote next year. This is going to be an annual thing. Like we're hoping and we're expecting this to continue to grow every year. The more people that make their voices heard in this, the more the more legitimate we can even say these things are. So I hope
That's
that
right.
all of you that voted this year will come back next year, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets. I don't know, tell everybody.
Hide your wife.
Everyone.
Hide your kids.
There it is. Here's where we're going.
Yeah, but tons of fun. I'm really glad that we started this, and I'm interested to see what can knock the High Republic off of its pedestal for the 2022 Youtinees.
Best cover art, Brotherhood. That's what's going to do it.
Okay.
That's a lie. It will not.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, wow. The fact that there was a whole new era and it was all that good is also so key because it could have sucked. It could have sucked. And like,
Totally could have.
yeah, they could have mailed
You know
it in too. And they didn't. Not at all.
and we didn't even talk about like Into the Dark, Out of the Shadows. We didn't talk about Ronin. We didn't talk about like so many things that blew us away and other things. Like, I mean, Life Day Treasury even came out this year. Like the other small books like that. And maybe that'll be a thing we add next year. I mean, we added categories this year. Maybe we'll add like anthology books. We'll, who knows next year? There's so many opportunities. Corey, what does this tell you about our year now and looking forward, looking ahead to the future?
Oh man, it's such a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I'll say it again. I'm gonna keep saying it for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
So
buddy.
much good stuff came out this year. I can't wait to see what the next year holds. I think we're gonna continually see improvement. We're gonna see new authors brought in. I think it's gonna be an incredible year. And we already know some of the things that are coming out in the next year. There's a lot that we don't know, I'm sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm excited for those unknowns just as much as I am for the ones that we already know about.
For sure. Blind Fates, thank you for the super chat, man. Says an amazing year, rightfully contributed by the wonderful Youtinee team. Thank you. I mean that's why we're here. I mean, we want to celebrate these incredible years with you, and we hope that whether it be our roundtables, our website, our other shows, our articles, our timeline, whatever resources we have, we hope that it's made our Discord, whatever it's been, we've hoped that it's made your Star Wars year better. We hope that you have had
Sure.
so much fun with these titles and this content and these comics and everything because you're part of Youtinee. We are not slowing down. We got a Star Wars celebration coming maybe in May.
Maybe.
Hashtag
All
Omicron.
right.
We'll see. I hope so. But we have a huge year coming up in 2022. The content's going to be there. The creators are going to be there. We will be here and you will be here, and that's all we need. So thank you to everyone who read a Star Wars book. Steven, thank you for the super chat, man, on the show. We love doing these. I already can't wait for next year's Youtinees. They're already going to be bigger and better. We love it. And we love you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for everything that you do. We're taking a week off next week. We hope you have a great new year. We will see you in the chat. We will see you in Discord. We will see you in Twitter. We will see you everywhere Star Wars love is, because that's where we will be also. Because, my friends, that will do it for the 2021 Youtinees. If you support us on Patreon, thank you so much for your support. We got some special goodies coming your way in the new year. But a special thank you goes out to Cheryl Bell, OK Endar, Jeremy Kazina, JG Kars, Earl Q, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Matt Billington, Tyler Latour, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C, and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Eric Eilerson. Corey is at Doc Star Wars MD. Charles Zetzi Henkel. Wes is at Boss Wes. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor and top hat wearing host. Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire, and Wes, our producer and community manager. Thank you to Corey, Charles, and Wes for hosting these awards with me. Thanks to all of you for enjoying. And for the last time in 2021, may the Force be with you.